your brand globally. Make your venture a success. Unique Times, Premium Business Lifestyle Magazine.
അമൃത് ഹെയർ എലിക്സർ ഫോർ വിമൻ. ബയോടെക്നോളജി പ്രകാരം എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് ചെയ്ത ഹെയർ എലിക്സർ. അമൃത് വേണി എന്നാൽ മുടിക്കുള്ള അമൃത്.
I will now request Mr. C.K. Kumaravel. Kumaravel is the owner of Naturals, which has got 750 branches all across India, most of them in South India, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, in Karnataka, in Hyderabad, in Andhra and so on. And he has done this from almost nothing, from scratch, he and his wife. And I think he would be in the big league, and he would certainly be able to tell us what he thinks of corporate social responsibility. I would like you, if you possible, to address how CSR implementation has been in your company over the last 9 years, why there is not so much more voluntarism, and why companies feel it's a responsibility that they have to take. How do you see CSR in the next 10 years, both from a legal point of view and from a social point of view? And how do you think our participants can participate in CSR, both in your company and generally?
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, and my hearty congratulations to my friend Dr. Ajit Ravi for coming out with such a nice concept, and such a privilege to be a part of this illustrious achievers. Thank you so much for each of my panelists, and my best wishes to the contestants for the evening program. The charity will keep the poor person poor. Only education and employment will lift the poor person out of poverty. In India, we don't require a separate CSR. The parents take care of their children. In their older age, the children take care of their parents. Only for America, such a concept is not existing. So a concept of CSR and all these things are required. In India, as a culture, the DNA of the country only is CSR only. The parents take all the risks, and they put everything in their children, and they want them to succeed. And that's what is happening. But having said that, in a large country like ours, there is a need for government to intervene and broadly form policies and give guidelines. Because we as a country, we are only constable conscious, we are not signal conscious people. Only when the policeman is there, we will stop in the signal. Otherwise, we will keep going. So the government has to intervene at a point and tell, boss, you are making a lot of money. Part of the money, why not you help the others who need to be lifted out of poverty? And when a company like Tata's and when so many other companies we have been talking, they have done voluntarily, and they have done much more, not even the 2% as Dr. Nandakumar was saying. They are not even restricted to, why restrict only 2%? Somebody is doing more. In this country, doing entrepreneurship is only doing CSR. Okay. The kind of problems, the challenges and the bottlenecks and the hurdles the entrepreneur needs to cross to run the business. Itself, each of the entrepreneurs should be given a Bharat Ratna in this country. And that is the kind of, what the world requires at this point of time is job creators. Abdul Kalam said so beautifully, he said, India doesn't require job seekers, India requires job providers. India requires entrepreneurs. A government cannot and should not create jobs. It is the role of the government to provide a conducive environment so that the entrepreneur can create jobs. Unfortunately, in this country, the government is trying to do what the private should be doing, and the private is trying to do what the government should be doing. So it is in this context, the CSR comes into the picture. I am in favor of the CSR. The CSR, kind of CSR, what we do is skill development. Because what is required in this country is not education. Education, yes, we have all got the formal academic education. End of the day, it is skill education. And that is exactly what we as a company are trying to do. Create a lot of skilled people in this industry. Train whatever is that, the lot of hairdressers and barbers are there. And we give them the certification for them. I want to quote one anecdote which happened in one of my salon, which I want to state. 3 years before I walked in, I wanted to have a quick shave in one of my salon. The receptionist did not recognize me. I was half happy, half sad, because I became so big that my own people are not recognizing. Then I walked into the first person also did not recognize me. This time I felt even more sad. Then the second person recognized me and he said, "Please come, sir, sit down." I don't know whether he was treating as a boss or a customer. It doesn't matter. I said, "I want to have a quick shave." He asked, "Are you C.K. Kumaravil?" I said, "Thank God, yes." He said, "Sir, I was wanting to come and thank you. Glad you have come here." I thought my franchise partner has given him some salary increment, or my training team has given him some special training. I asked him for what. He said, "I am in this industry for the past 14 years. First 4 years I was working with my father. He was called a barber. I was called a hairdresser. I joined Naturals. I became a hairstylist. Then I became a style director. Now I am the salon director." The way in which I started looking at me has changed. The way in which my family looks at me has changed. The way in which the society looks at me has changed. That is when I realized unknowingly I have touched a taboo activity and converted to a lifestyle business. Today there are so many such activities. I think entrepreneurs need to come together and organize those industries. I think that itself is a CSR. There are various ways of CSR which is there. One thing I am not happy with this is the punishment of arrest and all those things. I think that should be avoided. The government can give directions, government can say so much has to be spent, all those things is fine. But giving the power to the officers that they can arrest the entrepreneur, I think that is strictly no. I think that needs to be revisited. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumaravel. Very succinctly put that social responsibility can take various hues. It does not necessarily have to be within the framework of a law. And the punishment, I think you are the first person who touched that point. The punishment is not commensurate with the offense within inverted commas. Dr. Ashwani, I think you will be able to give both a perspective from the view of your company and also a much broader perspective as Shri Bharat did. What do you think? I've already shared some of the points I would like you to touch upon with you. If you would like to look at the global perspective as well as your company's perspective, that would be wonderful.
I'll do my best. Very good morning to everyone, particularly the panelists here. Typically, what a tax expert does is, he deducts everything at source. So, this topic also, Dr. Sriram has actually deducted at source. So many of the religious and community aspects that I wanted to bring out that exist from our forefathers, he spelled it out very correctly and very efficiently too. At the same time, when we talk of tax, I think what Mr. Kumarvel also mentioned was the rigidity and the enforcement of something that you want to give as a goodwill measure cannot be forced upon you. Of course, to make it a little more efficient, this is what the government has done, and that too only for a certain section of the corporate. See, in the organized corporate itself, there's a huge number of people who are not in that particular bracket and not in that particular sector. What I find is in many of the public sector companies, which also achieve certain levels of profit, it is there where the politicians and as well as the public keep attacking for CSR funds, rather than people trying to do it willingly and doing it the way they're actually doing. More than 60 to 70% of the business done in India today is still in the gray market. And to that extent, I doubt whether CSR officially is a big success or not. But I think the progress made so far has been extremely great. At least people, the public, have all started viewing CSR in a big way. Some of the main advantages that I have noted down and I'd like to spell out is that, a company doing CSR and a good CSR gets better brand recognition. Now, if Mr. Kumarvel is empowering women empowerment, then what happens is his brand gets a fantastic name that they are doing something also apart from just styling. The positive business reputation then starts letting you to expand further in that business and more. There is also increased customer and employee loyalty because when they find that they're working for a company that is doing so much for the general goodwill of everybody, then there is a much more customer and employee loyalty. And when you work efficiently to generate certain amount of profit, then there are also cost savings. You make profits not only by adding business, but also by cutting costs. So you get a better financial performance. So the companies that are doing good CSR activity are actually performing well. Dr. Sriram mentioned about Tatas. I think that's an amazing example. Today, if you just have to visit Tata Memorial Hospital in Bombay to understand what the Tatas are. The other main advantage for CSR is that you are able to attract talent much faster than what you do because you're recognized as a giver, not just a bloodsucker. Most businessmen are viewed that way. They think that we make money only at the cost of sucking somebody's blood. But the fact that we are giving employment, letting them get a career for themselves, making a mark for themselves in that same industry. Like Mr. Kumaravelu said, that a stylist becomes an owner of or a director of a salon. So also a salesman in our stores can become an owner of a store at a much later stage. But there is a definite path that has been struck for that. And finally, the most important thing that CSR does is, you can get better access to capital. The moment you're known as a company that is trusted, trustworthy, and efficient, then capital is easy to generate. Obviously, there is a flip side to all this. So there's a rising cost to CSR because the problem with any CSR activity is if you have done something this year, next year it is automatically understood that you have to do it again. In the process, if the costs keep going up, then what happens is you're not able to achieve that particular target or you make many people unhappy in the process. Sometimes the stakeholders' objectives also clash with the CSR activity that one is doing. The public image also. Sometimes they think that the activity that is done on CSR does not go well with the company's image. So, what they think of the company's image. So, there is a clash of interests at that stage. And we did mention about the increased accountability. So, what happens is when you are achieving growth, growth itself is at a certain level of taxation. Today, the current taxation is hovering around 34 to 43% in the case of partnerships. So, when you are paying that higher taxation and add 2% to that, and that too with compulsion, then what happens is then that giving factor gets cut automatically. And in the process of doing CSR, sometimes many organizations find that they're running away from their real objectives. I have been dealing with ITC for the last 65 years. And this is one company that I pride upon CSR that they've been doing. Some of the quick areas that they actually are into is, and which is in their mission statement, is that they talk about eradication of hunger and poverty, which is still rampant in India, promotion of education, promoting gender equality and empowering women. Mr. Kumarvel is a living example of that. Reducing child mortality and improving maternal health, combating diseases, we talked about Tatas, ensuring environmental sustainability, employment enhancing vocational skills, social business initiatives. And these mission statements are then tied up to the vision, in which case what you have is, like in the business that they are in, the crop productivity improvement, livestock dairy development, creation of sustainable livelihoods for the poor, promotion of education, promotion of women-based micro-enterprises, basic hygiene and sanitation improvement initiatives, health centers and camps, social and farm forestry. Today what's happening is for every tree that is cut, 100 trees are replanted. Soil and moisture conservation, which is very, very important. We are slowly and steadily losing our earth and water. Solid waste management, which is a major problem in this country. Promotion of sustainable business practices. Many people do business practices on very, very short-term thoughts. Vocational skills development, farmer knowledge empowerment through IT enablement. The e-Chowpal in ITC is a famous example of this. Today, the farmer can, with a computer, decide which market needs his produce, what are the prices in that particular market, so that the middleman is slowly eliminated. And finally, ITC has got their own Sangeet Natak Academy. So art and culture is another big promotion that CSR activity does. I'll leave it there, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Deepak. I think a round of applause for him.
Feel the freshness. Feel the softness. DQ 78 TFM Grade 1 Soap.